by the Nile River, living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people, I'm told. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So my friend, it's easy to tell, white man heaven is a black man hell.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Master Farad Muhammad said 6 words to us, and these were the 6 most powerful words that he spoke. He said, accept your own and be yourself. Accept your own. The Caucasians who brought our fathers into slavery desired to take us away from our own people, our own culture, our own religion, our own God, our own language. So we have grown up in America away from our own mind, away from our own selves, and so we have been actually indoctrinated with an alien mentality.
10,000 fearless men. Because we're going to have to challenge the things that are destroying our community. So this ain't no punk time. This ain't no temple time, mosque time, or church time. All the singing and shouting and preaching is over. Get in them streets now. Block by block. We're going to have to clean it up. The airwaves is not enough. The television screen is not enough. You got to put boots on the ground who are trained and are willing to make the sacrifice of life itself to see our community made a decent place to live.
Attention. Drill.
Soldiering is a part of the Nation of Islam, and it readies all of us to obey the commands of God. Now some will ask, well, why military drill? Because this is what produces the camaraderie.
Facebook and Instagram thought that they could ban the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
But in reality, they can't, because he already lives in us and millions of others.
قل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
In the name of Allah, Master Farad Muhammad, the one true and living God, to whom praise is due forever. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his messenger. Peace, family, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. WHID-FM is your personal platform where those of us striving to follow the life-giving, life-saving teachings of the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as given to us by his premier pupil, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, gather right here in this virtual meeting place to answer that most critical question: what has Islam done for me? It's Sunday, September 21st, 2025, and at this time, we're going to turn it over to our dynamic co-host of WHID-FM, our sister, Janine Muhammad, who is a superstar student here in the ministry at Muhammad Mosque number 6, under the leadership of our beloved brother, student Imam Abdul Salam Muhammad. Sister Janine.
Assalamu alaikum, family, and thank you again for joining us for another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. We value your time and thank you for joining us each and every week to hear from our guests about what Islam has done and continuing to do for them. I'm going to introduce our guest tonight, who is Brother Calvin and Sister Sabriya Muhammad. Brother Calvin Muhammad has been a member of the Nation of Islam since June 3rd, 1990. Accepting the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad at Mosque Mariam after a lecture of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan while traveling with believers from Muhammad Mosque number 3 in Milwaukee. Since accepting the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Brother Calvin has served his nation in several capacities starting at a very young age. At the age of 13, he began his service in the Junior FOI as a Junior FOI captain. At age 15, he became the drill instructor for the FOI and began his formal introduction to the manhood training that would mold him. He has since served as a squad leader, lieutenant, second officer, Mosque investigator, and captain in both Milwaukee and Kansas City, Missouri. But the Calvin martial arts and security training began the same week he joined the Nation of Islam in 1990. As a practitioner of the martial arts for the past 32 years, his martial arts experience includes experience vast and varied. Most impactful is his training in VSK Jiu-Jitsu under Grandmaster Abdul Aziz Muhammad, also known as Brother Anthony Muhammad. Since 1996, holding where he currently holds the rank of Nidam, second degree black belt. In addition to training in the martial arts with Grandmaster, Brother Calvin Muhammad has worked with him in the development and deployment of many security-based trainings with various organizations and law enforcement officials. Additionally, he has been alongside GM Abdul Aziz Muhammad with the development of the National Training Corporation, first as an attendee in his late teens in 1996, and now as a helper in the planning and development of the National Training Conference. So that is the bio for our dear brother. Sister Sabriya Muhammad is a third generation member of the Nation of Islam, born to Sister Rosalind and Brother Richard Muhammad. Her legacy is deeply rooted in Kansas City, Missouri, where her grandfather served as a minister for the Nation of Islam, shaping a foundation of faith, leadership, and service that she continues to build upon. From a young age, she excelled in vanguard training, demonstrating discipline, grace, and commitment to community values. As she transitioned into adulthood, she became a talented seamstress and visionary entrepreneur. In 2011, she married Brother Calvin, and together they are proud parents of 3 sons, Khalil, Mujahid, and Mustaqil. Sister Sabriya is the founder of Aisha's Royal Touch. She designs and produces handbags, wallets, and accessories that both reflect cultural pride and artistic excellence. Her deepest passion lies in excellence in education, particularly in creating meaningful opportunities for children within the Islamic community. One of her long-term goals is to establish a University of Islam in Kansas City, Missouri, ensuring that future generations have access to faith-based, empowering education rooted in tradition and purpose. Always striving, she always embodies dedication, creativity, and a relentless commitment to uplift. So we'd like to welcome you both on the show tonight, family. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, my sister.
Now, when we get started with interviewing our guests, we just like to get a background. I know your background that you have sent us is very advanced, but I want to hear from you firsthand. We'll start with you. So you joined the Nation of Islam in 1990. Now, there's so many people that can hear the teachings, they can read the books, they can come to all the events. But was there a particular lecture that you say the Nation of Islam is for me?
I'm sorry, sister. Can you repeat that question? You broke up at the last part.
Sure. Out of all the lectures, was there a particular lecture that you listened to by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that made you say Islam is for me?
Oh, you want to go
That's
first?
for you.
She gonna start cutting up now. No, thank you. First of all, thank you all for having us on this show. This is an incredible platform, and we're grateful to have it. Big shout out to my brother West. I enjoy you. Like seeing you on it. So keep up the good work. So June 3rd, 1990, I actually was in Mas Mariam. I had no real ambition to join the Nation of Islam. I ended up there by accident. And I felt like I was stuck. I had to wait until the lecture was over to go home. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did a lecture that day called The Knowledge of the Time and the Changing of the Seasons. And that in particular was the lecture that grasped all of my attention and made me accept Islam.
Praise be to Allah. Wonderful. Now, Sister Sabriya, this question is for you. Now, as a third generation member of the Nation of Islam, it's a beautiful and a blessing to be able to say you're born into the nation, what we call it a nation baby. So what do you think the key is in your family to have a third generation in the Nation of Islam and not allowing the devil in this world to affect you all accepting the teaching?
Assalamu alaikum, sister. I don't know if there's an issue with the connection, but it started to break up again at the end. I believe your question is with me being a third generation, like
what do you all believe is a key, or what helps your family where the enemy doesn't get to get that third generation? Like you all are rooted in the Nation of Islam.
I don't know. I mean, so yes, I was born and raised in the Nation of Islam, and so I was taught the lessons young. My father, when I was really young, my grandfather was the minister. My father was a captain. My mother was a captain. So, and I was allowed to be really active in a lot of things that was going on. But as life goes, and I got older and kind of started to make my own decisions, there was a period where the world did have, a pull on me. And, but there was always something like in me that didn't allow me to go too far. It was always something that pulled me back. And I don't know. I'm grateful to Allah that I was given that foundation so young. And I believe that is what kept me from going too far and, just coming back in ranks and being active. I think that's what it is. It was the foundation, just the way I was raised, the lessons really been embedded in me, because I would be doing things that I probably shouldn't. Well, I'm not gonna say probably. I shouldn't have. I'm just gonna be honest. Things I probably shouldn't have been doing, and I would always hear, like the lessons and different things from the lectures in the back of my mind that would pull me back in. So that's what it was for me.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. Beautiful. And I thank you for your transparency.
Yeah.
Next question again is for you, Sister Sabriya. So
better have it. Better have it.
So in your bio, you say one of your long-term goals is to establish a University of Islam and really protect that faith-based training. What do you think is missing from today's education system that this world just cannot compare when it comes to faith-based education?
I mean, they took God out of school, so that's a big part of it. There's there's so much that could be better with public schools, I guess, in relationship to faith-based schools. there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot. I don't know that it's faith-based is important, but when it comes to education, what I would really love to see is us teaching and training our children so that once they graduate, they can be self-sufficient. They can, create businesses if that's what they want to do, or go into something so that we're not having to send them off to the enemy for more education, or we're not, so I'm just going to be, honest. I feel like sometimes we teach our children because we have, we teach them the lessons. We teach them their gods. We show them how valuable they are. But when we don't give them the proper education too, we're still sending them to public schools, they're getting mixed messages. We're teaching them to be one thing, and then in the public school is teaching them to be slaves, or you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's a different thing. And I feel that if we're teaching our children that they're gods and they can be anything, and then when they graduate, it's like, well, you better go work for the devil because we ain't got nothing for you. You know what I mean? I really want that to change. I just really want that to change.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. I'm there with it. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. You don't know how. So, Brother Calvin, my next question is for you before we turn it over to Brother West. Now, just seeing the teachings outwardly, people may think martial arts discipline, I don't know if that's really helpful for the young boys, because there's so many children out here claiming to be YNs now. So what do you say that martial arts and the manhood training, I know you can't go too deep in that FOI class, but what can you give us that the manhood training gives these young boys that will help them go from the path of going down to the devil or taking the path closer to God?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. First, I have to give a shout out to my first student, Captain Charles Muhammad, out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because when I came into the Nation of Islam, I was, and I hate that term, but what we call them, YN, I was the YN. And so being arrested and having gun charges at the age of 12, at an age that early, my student captain realized when I came in that I had maybe some anger built up in me, had a lot of aggression, and he immediately sent me off to train in the martial arts. Now, I've had a series of incredible teachers over the years. Of course, most prolific is our student assistant supreme captain, Dr. Abdul Aziz Muhammad. And one of the things, because the martial arts in its essence, of course, when you go back to the etymology of the word, you have the word Mars, which means, which is known as the god of war. But it teaches you not necessarily fighting, but how to deal with conflicting forces. And so in the martial arts, we are constantly, your biggest opponent is really yourself. You can't get the technique right until you remove the barriers from within your mind. And it was an outlet for me to get off of me some of that aggression, to get off of me some of the violence that I was bringing in out of the world, to the point where the more I learned in the way of self-defense, the less I wanted to fight. Because I understood the power of it. Now, when you combine that to the manhood training, martial arts is just another form of drill, which we get in the manhood training. And we're told that drill is the exercise of the gods. Both the martial arts and the military close order drill teach the same thing in order to be great. You have to hear a command and respond to the command, and your success in both martial arts and drill is not just your ability to respond, but your ability to reduce the time in which you respond. And so you want to move your response in both Islam and the martial arts. You eventually want your response to your environment, your response to your surroundings. You want to hear the good command. It may be in the martial arts a sensei, but in the Nation of Islam, we have good command coming from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Allah himself. What you want to do is you want to reduce that response time so that eventually what you're learning becomes second nature. And that is what I think the importance of the manhood training and both the martial arts. That's where they come together.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Thank you for that, sir. And I know our young brothers and our young girls out there definitely need it, especially in this day and time. Praise be to Allah. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to one of our co-hosts, Brother Wes Muhammad. He has some questions for you both. So, Brother Wes, I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
My apologies, family. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam. How you doing, Brother Wes?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to see you, soldier.
It's great to have you both on. Definitely excited. So my first question that I actually wanted to ask you both was just going down memory lane a little bit. So if you both, I feel like there's a question that both of you might want to answer. If you can first just tell us how you met, what made you, I gotta know. And then also how you met, what made you want to pursue the courtship process, and what made you just know that you were the right ones for one another?
I'm gonna let you answer that.
Well, I'm gonna give you the raw truth, the only version to this story that should ever be told.
Yes, sir.
However, I moved from Milwaukee to Chicago, not to Chicago, but I moved from Milwaukee to Kansas City in late 2005, early 2006. And unfortunately, I had gone through a divorce. And so in that trial period in my life, I was really distraught. And I had lost a part of myself. So I wasn't coming out to the mosque. I wasn't really active during that time. And so in the course of that time, I did have an opportunity to meet her father, Brother Richard Muhammad. I also met her brother as well. May Allah be pleased with him, Brother Rahman Muhammad. And when I met them, of course, I didn't know her at the time. I had no idea who she was. But I was working at a bank. And I can recall once I was working at that bank, I was walking on the bank floor and a sister stopped me. And I remember she asked me if I was a Muslim. I said, yes. And she greeted me, and that was her, Sister Sabriya. Now, there was no interest at that time, but it's always comforting to know that you have another member of the Nation of Islam where you are. And so as time went on, and I remember I'd been divorced, and to be quite honest, I remember laying in the bed and having a vision. Now, let me tell you something, brother. I'm one of those brothers that I have to work on myself, because when people come to me, sometimes with very, what they say, the spiritual enlightenment, some people call it visions. Some, of course, I can accept, but I'm always a little skeptical when people are telling me about it. And so for me to experience that, and in the vision, I saw her face, and at that time, her son Khalil. And I received a very warm feeling in my heart that let me know that that's the one. And it was so strong of a feeling, I didn't even know her name. And I went back to work to a brother that I knew her, and I gave him my phone number, and I said, hey, could you tell this sister to call me? Could you have her call me? I said, I believe that's the one. And this brother looked at me like I was crazy. And I probably looked crazy at the time. Well, he did what I asked, but unfortunately, I got bad news in return, Brother West. The sister wasn't interested in me. And so, I left it alone until we had gotten to a point where I was communicating with her brother at the time on Facebook, and I sent her a friend request. And And we had started communicating on Facebook, but we were telling jokes, nothing serious, right? And so I remember one morning, she had sent me a text.
I put it on your wall.
Put it on my wall saying, "How you doing?"
I said, "Good morning."
Good morning. How you?
I guess just said good
let
morning.
me tell you how I interpreted it. Whatever she said, I interpreted as, "Brother, I'm ready for you now." Right? So that was my interpretation of it. And so right away I was like, "Oh, this is it." So I literally paced back and forth looking at my computer before I responded. And then eventually I responded, and we started to communicate on it was Yahoo at that time, Yahoo Messenger. And I started asking her some questions, and she cut me off, brother. She said, "Brother, you getting a little bit too personal with me. If you want to ask me those questions, you know what you should do." And so, which meant she said, if you that serious, you need to talk to your captain and have your captain talk to me. And I also talked to her father. Make a long story short, this sister actually rejected me about 3 times. And the first time I called her after my courtship was approved, she hung up in my face. Now she'll tell you her version. But long story short, she'll tell you that I stalked her, but whatever the case is, she's sitting next to me right now. So, that's how we met.
Yeah, it worked out.
Wow, all praises due to Allah. That sounds like a very interesting love story. Sister Sabriya, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, I'm gonna let him have his version. I mean, because what he said was mostly true.
Mostly,
it's it's just that when the person called me, because we worked together. I saw when they get a new hire, they show the list of names, and when I saw Muhammad spelled the way it was, I was like, oh, I think he in the nation. So I just went over to just introduce myself, but I had ended up taking a job somewhere else. So by the time he had that vision, I was no longer there. And a friend of mine reached out to me the first time that he was, he had that vision and he just knew like, oh, this is her. I'm gonna contact her. My friend called me and she was like, so it's a man at the job who said he thinks you're the one and he wants to know if you're interested. And I'm like, who is this man? She's like, girl, I don't know. She didn't know his name. She didn't know nothing. She just knew he was tall, dark, and that was it. And I was just like, oh, that's cute. And then we just kind of went on about our business. So, I had no idea. I had no idea. I mean, you was coming to my look. It's funny how it happened because at the time I was living back with my parents. He was coming over, training and working out with my father. My father was a personal trainer. He was training him, and I had no idea he was there. I mean, I wasn't thinking about him at all. But my father, I was leaving for work one day, and he said, "Bree, what you think about Brother Calvin?" And I said, "Ain't he married?" He said, "Well, yeah." I said, "Well, that's what I think," and I went about my business, not knowing, any of these other things. And of course, when he tried to contact me, he had been divorced by then. But I didn't know. It came out years later because it was 6 years before he actually, between his vision and when we actually started communicating. And then we courted for 7 months, and that was it. So, yeah.
All praises due to Allah. No, that is definitely a wonderful way that you all's relationship panned out. And I did want to ask you, Brother Calvin, if you could speak on your experience working with Grandmaster Abdul Aziz and just go into, what inspired you to really focus on such intense martial arts training?
Well, that's an excellent question, and big love and respect us to Student Assistant Supreme Captain, who is much more than a martial arts instructor to me, and any of the students who train with him. I had the pleasure of being. Well, go back a little bit. I started off my training in Kempo Goju Karate, and then from there I went to Seolam Hungar Kung Fu. And while I was training in Kung Fu, again, my student captain, Captain Charles Muhammad, for an FOI class, he got a hold of a videotape and he said, we're going to watch this videotape for FOI class. And that videotape was Sanukis 1. And we watched it during FY class. And as a martial artist, I had never witnessed Black martial artists excel like I saw on that tape with Dr. Moses Powell. And of course, at that time, it was Professor Anthony on there, who is now Dr. Abdulaziz Muhammad. But they lived in New York, and I was in Milwaukee. And so I was like, man, if I ever get the opportunity to train with them, then I'll start training with them. And lo and behold, of course, he moved to Chicago, which is 90 miles outside of Milwaukee. But for me, that was close enough for me to start training. So at least once every week on a Tuesday and Thursday, and then on the weekends, we would drive to Chicago to train with him. And I believe I was around 18, 19 at the time. And throughout that experience, starting to train with him, and then also having an opportunity to travel with him and learn from Dr. Moses Powell as well, and some of the other masters in the system, let's just say I fell in love. I fell in love with the system, and I fell in love with the teacher, who has the ability, anybody who has ever trained with our brother, you know, he has the ability to teach in a way that transcends the physical aspect. But whatever he's teaching you, you can turn it inwardly to deal with the struggles within. And that's the most intense part of training that I have, that I get from our beloved Dr. Abdulaziz Muhammad. But the journey is beautiful. I love training with him. I have learned so much about life, let alone the martial arts, through this system.
All praise is due to Allah. That's wonderful. I think that martial arts is definitely important for just strengthening the discipline and every FOI and MGT as well. And Sister Sabriya, I did want to ask you if you can explain a little bit of how you got into seamstressy. So I see that you all are probably in the room that you do.
Yeah.
You know,
Her headquarters.
Right. Also, I did see some of your work on your website as well. I was highly impressed. Yes, ma'am. So if you could just tell us and our audience how that came about, how it's going, you know.
Okay. Yes, sir. A lot of the women, like my mother is a seamstress. My aunt on my mother's side, a lot of women on my mother's side would sew. As a child, I grew up watching my mother sew garments. And I mean, from just the clothes she would wear every day to, MGT or Lost Founds ordering garments from her, to her making all of our junior Vanguard garments, everything we wore before Savior's Day. She was always sewing. And she wanted to teach me as a child, but I was more of her like human dress form, and I didn't like getting stuck by a pin sight or little stick pins, and I just had no interest in it until I got older. I see a question asked on my website. My website is www.aishasroyaltouch.com. It's AISHASROYALTOUCH.com. But I did not start sewing until, so like I mentioned earlier, it was a period I wasn't active or as active in the nation. And then when I came back, I wanted to learn how to make modest clothing that was attractive, but also affordable. And so I wanted to learn how to make my own clothes starting out. And then when my husband and I got married, he was like, well, you could do it as a business. And it was never really an interest of mine. And then the first Savior's Day after we got married, Sister Student Captain Naima, for our Savior's Day gift, she had us all do something handmade. And so I told my mother I really wanted to make a comforter set to give to somebody. So I made, very first time sewing anything, I made a bed set, a queen size bed set. It had a comforter, it had decorative pillows, it had the pillow cases And the sister cried when she got it.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
But it was from that moment, I just started making things. So I would make burp cloths for babies and, baby clothing. And I did some Mother's Day pillows and some wedding pillows. And then from then, I just wanted to learn how to make everything. I've made junior FY uniforms. I've made clothing. And I've gotten the purses. I like purses. I like accessories. And I wanted to learn how to make it. And so, your phone listens to everything. I was telling my husband how I wanted to start learning. And then I started coming across videos on YouTube. And I found out what type of equipment I wanted. I needed to make bags from leather or even faux leather because they're thicker materials than, like cotton or things like that. And I just did a lot of research and I just started. And so I started making them in 2019. And yeah, it's just kind of gone from there. So I do have a website. I need to get better at putting things on it. I do. I struggle sometimes because I'll make purses and I will be excited about what I made and I'll post a picture, like say on social media, and I would have just made that one, bag, and it's like, hey, how many do you have? And I'm like, oh my God, hold on, wait. So there's some things I'm working out business wise, but that's how it started and how it's going. So yeah.
Praise be to Allah. And I have one more question before I turn it over to Sister Janine for her next questions. But I did want to know if both of you can describe what advice you have for the young people who are coming up behind you. It seems like you both are very experienced in the Nation of Islam. You both have a lot of just, trials and tribulations that you were able to overcome. And if you have any specific advice that you will pass on to a new believer or just anyone listening.
You go first.
So you mean just with overcoming obstacles in life in general?
Yes, ma'am. As far as the nation.
As far as the nation. I would say to hold tight to Allah. Through every struggle or trial that I feel like I need to sneeze. Through every struggle or trial that I've had in my life, what has helped me get through it is my relationship with Allah. Of course I have a strong support system, but ultimately it came down to my relationship with Allah and not ignoring that, that God voice inside of you. A lot of times we may ask Allah, what we should do or shouldn't do. And sometimes he'll answer us and we wanted a different answer, or we want him to tell us in detail why of something, and we just need to trust and believe in Allah and what it is that he's guiding us to do. I don't know. Hopefully that wasn't too vague, but and a lot of the things that I've dealt with, I've been through, obviously not with him, but through my first marriage, I went through domestic violence, a lot. And it's always been Allah that helped get me through those situations. So hopefully that helped answer your question.
That's good. I could really just settle on that answer.
No.
And however, being growing up in the nation, really from the age of 13 on, going through the junior FY, having brothers and sisters that I was in the junior FY with. Big shout out to Student Captain David in Milwaukee. We were both in the junior FY together. One of the things I would advise the youth in the Nation of Islam is that, number one, you are never too young to make a life-changing decision.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let anybody make you believe that because you are young, that, don't take life seriously, and that, there's all this leeway. I made the decision to come into the Nation of Islam at the age of 13. And that decision has changed the course of not just my life, but it's changed the course of our children's lives. It's changed the course of my family's life, and by Allah's permission, inshallah, our lineage to come. But it goes both ways. It could be a positive decision and it could be a negative decision. So you're never too young to make a life-changing decision. Secondly, this world has a diabolical plan to separate the youth from our elders, making it seem like, well, they do that with everything. They are pitting the men and the women against each other. They're pitting each generation against each other. So Generation X, Generation Y, Gen Z, millennials, all of these are tools of Satan to divide us. But the youth and the elders need one another in order to be successful. We heard the old saying, old men for counsel, young men for war. But we know in the Nation of Islam, everybody's meant for war.
Okay.
However, in my youth in the Nation of Islam, there was a time frame that elders in the mosque would, in good nature and sincerity, give me advice. And because I was younger, like some young people think, we would think, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm the new generation, so we need to do it like that. That's the old way of thinking, only to get more mature and realize, man, if I would have listened to brother so-and-so, if I would have listened to sister so-and-so, I would be so much farther ahead in this area. And so there are many elders in our nation that will give their life for the youth to make sure that we don't experience some of the things that they've experienced, to give us a leg up in life. The third and final thing, thank Allah for the guidance that came to us from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Be careful who you choose to be your friends and associates, because I know sometimes the world is tempting. It's very tempting. You see XYZ going on in the world, but whomever you surround yourself with, they will tend to wear off on you. So if you can, make sure to choose your surroundings. As we are taught, our only friends really are Allah, the Messenger, and the true believers. That doesn't mean we cut anybody. We can't cut anybody off because our job and our mission is the resurrection of the dead. But be careful who you allow in your inner circle as a young person, because Satan dwells all around you. And sometimes, because we haven't experienced certain things as youth, we feel like we absolutely need to experience to be enlightened. And we are tempted and pulled only to realize that we really didn't need that experience in life.
All praise is due to Allah. That's some wonderful advice from both of you all. I definitely hope that our audience uses it and applies it for sure. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sister Janine to continue her questions as well.
Thank you, Brother West. I mean, that was a whole word right there. We're going to have to make that clip what you said is short, because our young people need to know that, because we always think that, choosing God or living the right life, people tell you to have fun. I know we've all heard to have fun, but fun comes with consequences. The kind of
Right.
about. So I definitely appreciate you saying that. And I'm going to ask a couple of questions that was posted, because I don't want to miss questions that was submitted. So Brother Jamal asks, he said, how do you support each other's separate callings, martial arts and security training on one hand, entrepreneurship and education on the other? And either one you can answer.
I know that what he does is important. And growing up, my father also teaches martial arts. So it was always a part of my life. So it wasn't anything hard to support on that end. It's just
Yeah, I got to give a lot of credit to my wife because I know it's not easy dealing with me. Not that I'm crazy or anything like that, but I'm very busy. I am gone 7 days a week, from the house. I usually leave the house at around 7 a.m. and I don't get back until 9 or 10. That's almost every day, with the exception of Sunday because the mosque lets out earlier. So I can get home, and even when I come home, I don't really settle in until about 6. But my wife is so supportive. She is so supportive in the martial arts. She is supportive in our labor. That's why it's good to be equally yoked, and it is good to be with. I left this out. If you're in the Nation of Islam, marry you an MGT. Don't fall for nothing else. Marry you an MGT. Now, with that being said, listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and one said that real love is freedom, justice, and equality. My wife has a gift. She has an incredible gift. And it would not be freedom, justice, and equality if I saw her gift that Allah blessed her with and did anything but encourage her in the way of her gift. That's freedom. So when I noticed that she had a gift, matter of fact, she kind of had to pull me back a little bit because my ideas were flowing. You could do X, Y, and Z. You could do this. You could do that. I wish you could see this sewing room. I mean, this is like the mothership of sewing rooms. As a matter of fact, her sewing escapades take over the entire house. However, I know that you can see God in her work. When she is involved in making something, especially if it's personal, especially if she's making it for a person in specific, she puts a lot of love and detail, and I want the entire world to experience her gift. So it's not hard for us to encourage and support one another. Stop crying.
I love it. I love it. You actually led me into my next question before I turn it over to Sister Lawita to ask her questions. So in this world, we don't see a lot of Black couples. We see high divorce rate. We see a lot of toxicity in relationships, and we see a lot of sexualized relationships as far as geared to what the Black community looks like. So can you tell us what practical steps has Islam given you to be able to make that choice to stay in the process of marriage? And either one of you can start.
What has Islam given us that has made us decide to stay in the process? I think that knowing we learned the importance of marriage, how divorce, it doesn't just impact my husband and I. It's going to impact our children. It'll impact our families, and the community. There's so, yes, it's he and I made vows to each other, but a relationship, it just touches so much. It would impact the mosque. There's so many things that breaking this union could destroy. It's more than just me and him. So any issue that we have, we try not to be Calvin versus Sabriya.
That's right.
It's us against that issue, and how can we overcome whatever the situation is? We've both been married before, and we know how that impacted us then. And then when we were courting, like, one of the big things for us was like, divorce is not an option. Like, right. We're in a house with no doors. That's what I mean? No doors, no windows. It's you and me. You get mad, you can go in another room. We ain't going nowhere else. Right. It's just not. It's not an option. So Thankfully, we haven't had even thoughts of it. Like you ain't thought about it, right? Like, but I think that's the biggest thing. Like, when things happen, you have to really think. So I tell my children, or our children, all the time, you cannot, or you should not, make long-term decisions based on short-term emotions. And so that just really, that I think is what helps keep us in this marriage, in this union.
Yes. And I couldn't have really answered it any better. First, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gives practical, sound, but the best advice that's out there by saying, it's very simple, settle down to a good choice, right? And those are a few words, but they are very, very, very important words. And I say that because our process, the courtship process, do not take it for granted. We took each other through the ringer in the courtship. As a matter of fact, at one point, I thought the marriage was off, right? Because we got down to business and we talked about issues. One thing my wife has always done, one of the ways that she has really changed me, was she made me talk about issues. Like I didn't like talking about issues, but this woman made me talk. She made me articulate any issue that I had so that it could be out in the open, so that it could be dealt with. And so as we look in the courtship process, not to get so emotional, not to get so wrapped up, and understanding that marriage is not just looking for a companion, a friend. You can have that without marriage. But marriage is not just about you and the individual, but it is a decision that we make that affects our very DNA. It affects our lineage for the rest of time. A bad marriage is going to affect your lineage for the rest of time. It can cut off your lineage. It could put the wrong thoughts in your lineage. So we understood that in courtship. And so we know that our marriage is bigger than us. Although we enjoy each other's company. Well, I told a brother, because I often am told by people that I need to slow down. I need to take more breaks or things like that. And I explained to a brother that every day when I make it home to my wife and my family, this is no exaggeration. When I come home, it's like a mini vacation until I have to leave again, because that's how refreshing it is to be with my family.
I love that. That's beautiful. Let the record be known. The nation produces Black family and Black love. I love to see when we have couples on, because the love is so pure and genuine, and you can really see what Islam is not only just doing for Black people in this country, but doing for Islam around the world. So I love it. Praise be to Allah. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our sister Louita. She actually has some questions for you both, so she want to ask. So Sister Louita, I will turn to you.
I do. Assalamu alaikum, family. This is so good. I'm just back here. I need some pom-poms. Go. Just a good time. And I'm going to come to you last, Sister Sabriya, but I'm going to ask Brother Calvin a question. Would you say that martial arts at a young, I heard you earlier when you say that, you were a little angry, and would you say martial arts saved your life? Because I had a son that was 11 and had the strength of a grown man, and he had a really bad temper, and he had a young man locked in between his legs, and it was 4 men that were trying to unlock his legs, and they couldn't because the boy was bullying one of his cousins. So I had to do something, and I put him in boxing, and I believe that saved his life. So would you say that martial arts saved your life and helped work through some of the anger that you mentioned earlier?
Oh, that's a good question, sister. And I got to borrow from our student assistant supreme captain, Brother Abdul Aziz Muhammad, who one of the things that he taught us is not to distinguish a separation between our martial arts and our Islamic walk. They're really the same. I can tell you this, since I started training in the martial arts, I have not had a fight, right? I have not had a situation where me and somebody else had to square up because of emotion. Now, that's not to say I haven't had to defend myself or others or utilize the martial arts, but I have not had a fight where my emotions got out of check and I bailed out on exploring words and I just went straight to the physical aspect. The martial arts have absolutely saved my life. One, it has showed me, because when you study the martial arts, you understand how fragile human life is. You understand how easy a person can be here today and they could be gone tomorrow. So in the heat of conflict, you recognize the worth and the value in that person to be greater than whatever emotion that you might have in yourself. And the highest road is to make sure that you honor the life of that person as opposed to succumbing to ego. And that is the greatest thing that a good teacher, for one, will bring out in training the martial arts. They will suppress your ego so that you don't have anything to prove, because most fights, especially dealing with our young brothers and sisters, many of the conflicts are ego based. They don't want to be seen less than in the eyes of others. So it's a need to prove that we are not less than. And then the martial arts takes that ego out of it, because, and you add the teachings in it, who we are taught that we are gods. You already know who you are, so you don't have to prove that to anybody.
Right. Beautiful. I'm just bearing witness. I've got my pom-poms. Y'all see them? Go. Good answer. I love that. All praise is due to Allah. Thank you so much, because it reminds what I'm hearing you say is that you became analytical and slow to anger.
Yes,
and that gave you that discipline where you didn't have to prove yourself to.
That's right. That's an excellent way to put it. I wish you would have said that before I went into my long answers.
No, I wanted, I'm trying to practice this thing called listening, So I said, let me listen and then turn around and let you know that I heard you and that what I'm hearing you say. So let me get a pom-pom for myself. Good answer.
That's right.
So Sister Sabriya, I wanted to, another thing, this may be for either one of you all, because you have 4 sons, right?
3.
3.
3 sons. Okay.
All right.
We got 3.
As of now, 3.
Right, come on, speak, Brother Calvin. He the man. We come back next year. So when I think about young men, like you said about the ego, how important is it to teach our children, particularly your young men, the difference and the understanding between jealousy and envy? Because I hear people using the language but may not understand the words. The minister said that jealousy is born out of love and envy has its root in hate. So they'll have friends around them, they'll begin to grow, kind of begin to shine, and looks like they are successful in whatever they're doing just with life. And you'll see that maybe one of the young men in the friend group is jealous or envious. How important is that for them to understand the difference and know when to disconnect and part ways?
I'm gonna jump in there. I think that's one of the key components of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because once you know that you are a God and you know what that entails, you become secure in yourself to understand that I don't need Allah blesses everyone with the specific gift, talent, asset, whatever it may be. And just as he has blessed her or him with that, he also desires to bless me. I share this. I had the unfortunate opportunity, or I don't even want to use the word opportunity, but I saw a brother basically get his head blown off. And what had happened was this individual, one brother had stepped on the brother's toe, right?
Yes, sir.
And the brother who stepped on the brother's toe was fine. He was okay, right? He apologized to the brother, and the brother accepted his apology, right? But after that apology, the crew, his association, was, man, he meant to do that. He disrespecting you. No, man, he saw your foot there. You know, he been looking at you since we've been here. So planting, of course, now we're making it about ego. This man has deliberately disrespected you, which led to this brother getting killed, right? I say that in the sense of insecurity, which is rampant. The goal of this world is to steep, especially our young people, in insecurity, so that we can constantly be looking for validation outside of ourselves. While we're looking for the validation outside of ourselves, we feel like if I get these new kicks, people gonna look at me a certain way. You know, that boosts our ego. If I get the shoe, if I get this phone, if I get this car, then I'm because of my insecurities, I'm building myself up in the eyes of other. And as we do that around other insecure people, then jealousy and envy creeps in. You see the new kicks? Oh man, he think he this, or she think she that. That's only envy talking, which forces us to act for validation.
Absolutely. Sister Sabriya, did you want to add anything to that?
Is there anything to add to that?
I was just being respectful.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean that's fine. I know we're talking to our boys. One thing, when they were in school together, one thing I tried to instill in them was understanding that the only true friend they really had, especially when they first started and didn't know anyone at the school, was each other. You know, a lot of times you can get into it with your siblings, you know, and y'all may have some issues, but at the end of the day, you know that person really has your best interest and they have your back, and you don't know a lot of these other, you know, people out here and what they're going through. Unfortunately, you know, they went through some things where they kind of saw, you know, understood that a little better. But I think you answered that pretty well. I think so. Yeah.
Well, I am very grateful to have the opportunity to interview you, or ask questions, I should say. I really appreciate your spirit, and may Allah continue to bless you, your marriage with longevity. You all have made me very proud. I'm very proud of you, Sister Sabriya, for what you've gone through when you talked about the domestic violence.
Oh, yes.
I think that sometimes we go through things so others don't have to. And I'm going to say this and turn it over to Brother West, is that sometimes the things that we go through did not happen to us. It happened through us for somebody else. So you were just you were the stress board that was needed to build upon. So you keep shining, girl. And when I get me a husband, you'll see me again. You'll be interviewing me. Brother West, we turn it over to you.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm going to go ahead to our station ID. Family, we just want to remind you that you are listening to WHID-FM, and we thank you for tuning in and spending your valuable time, because without you, there is no WHID-FM. So if you have any suggestions, please email us at WHID1919@gmail.com. And also, please subscribe to WHID-FM on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. And next week, Inshallah, our guests will be Brother Muhammad Hamidullah and Sister Hamidullah Muhammad. So make sure you tune in for that wonderful episode right back here on WHID-FM. And my next question for you, Brother Calvin and Sister Sabriya, I just wanted to ask you both, if you can give us a synopsis, a summary of what Islam has done for you, how would you, I guess, summarize that in about 5 words or so, your entire journey through Islam?
Five words.
Yes, ma'am.
Islam has saved my life.
I'd like to take the short road and just say me too, because that is it. But I would not be here.
Wow.
Not for Islam.
I like that. Could you all go in depth as to why, like how Islam has changed your life exactly, specifically?
Do I have a short answer? Islam has kept me from doing things that was very detrimental to my life. Islam allowed me to make a better decision in my choice of a mate the second go round with my marriage. I mean, just our stance on vaccines alone, you know, it could have potentially saved our children from autism. You know, it's a lot of things that Islam has done for me personally and our family. You want to tell Yo?
You know, there's no exaggeration when I say I would not be here had it not been for Islam. And I want to thank my cousin, Brother Sherman, who is the brother who brought me into the Nation of Islam. However, I was on a direct rendezvous with death, and that is no exaggeration. Because Islam got me out of the street. I mean, I call myself, I was a young GD. I was selling drugs at the age of 12. I was selling it in the public school system to security guards. I was carrying a weapon. I didn't have a governor on my thinking that would alert me to when I was going too far with something. And so I was just all straightforward. And because of the intervention of Islam, particularly listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on that day, Islam has had its hand on everything that I have experienced. Even the bad that I've experienced has turned out to serve me in a good capacity. I would not have met my beautiful wife. We wouldn't have our beautiful family. All of this is a gift, a bounty from Islam.
Yeah, I'm telling about 2019.
Oh, my wife is telling me. A lot of people don't know this, but when the pandemic broke out, I was one of the first to get that severe strain of COVID. And for me, it almost cost me my life because I went into kidney failure. And I literally was on dialysis for some time and had to have a kidney transplant. However, I remember being in the hospital and the doctors trying to figure out how I had survived because the virus had really had its way with me, and they didn't understand how I even made it to the hospital. I mean, it was a team of doctors, and the only thing they could say was that the only reason you were able to survive was because of the condition I kept my body in. And the only reason I kept my body in that condition was because of how to eat to live.
That's right.
So Islam has saved my life many times.
All praise is due to Allah. That's a beautiful testimony indeed. And with that, I'm going to turn it over back to Sister Janine. Thank you all for answering my questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother West. We appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you too.
Thank you, Brother West. This is really been a beautiful interview, and I'm thankful that you all have, came on and taken time just to let us know what Islam has done for you, because many of our audience, they may see, believers out and about. They see their brothers in the community. They may see what they hear of us. But this show gives listeners a chance to get to know us one by one and know that we're not perfect. We're striving. But Islam, we can do many things. So I appreciate you both. And as we begin to wind down, we only have a couple of more questions for you that was sent. So I want to make sure we get to these questions. So Sister Sabriya, this question is for you. It says, what advice would you give to young women who want to turn their creative talents into a business?
Do it. Do it. Research it, but do it. We are given those ideas and desires for a reason. We don't all desire the same thing. We don't all have the same gifts, So if there's something that you really, truly are into, study it. Continue to better yourself in it and do it. Do it. There's nothing stopping you but you. That's right. It.
Yes,
and we need it, especially in the nation. Listen, we need it. You make something, you get it out there, and you let us know, because we'll support you.
That's right.
That's right. Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. And the final question, Brother Calvin, is for you. It says, which do you find most needed with raising young boys? Responsibility, respect, or developing reliance against racism?
Oh,
man, that's the responsibility, respect, or developing, was that self-reliance in the face of racism?
Yes, sir.
That's very heavy. That's a very heavy question. I believe all of those are literally equally valuable. One thing that is key for a man, I'm going to say this for a man. Every man has to develop a strong sense of responsibility and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's being taken away from young men right now is the desire or the mindset of being accountable and being responsible. Meaning, when a young man is not taking accountability and not being responsible, that means that we are yielding to powers outside of ourselves, which is in direct contravention to the nature of a man. It's in the nature of a man to be productive. It's in the nature of a man to conquer. It's in the nature of a man to provide. And in this world, it will teach us that if we fail at any of those things, that it's always something that caused it outside of self. But the teachings that teach us that we are God and teach us that we have the ability to say be and it is, when men inevitably, especially young men, when we make a mistake or when we come up against a brick wall and you experience that trial that Allah put in our nature to experience, the world will encourage you to forget it, give up, or the world will encourage you to make an excuse for it. But the best thing a man can do, a young man, is when we experience those trials, is to take responsibility. See self first. Man, how could I have impacted this situation? What could I have done to make sure that I do it, and then take a breather after taking responsibility and go at it again. That's what having a family is, taking responsibility. That's what being successful in any endeavor, taking responsibility. And in Islam, we know that we are taught that Satan, after he had basically called all of us to sway, he brought it back on man for not taking responsibility. He said, I had no power over you except that I called and you obeyed. But all the while, we were thinking it was something outside of ourselves forcing us to do it, but it really lied in our ability to take responsibility.
Praise be to Allah. Wonderful, beautiful. Well, I definitely thank you both, and I appreciate it. And we hope to have you both back on in the future. Do you all have any closing comments for us or our audience?
I just thank you for even just asking us to be on it. I appreciate that. Initially I was like, why me? Us, but I have enjoyed this, and I'm really grateful for you all for asking.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to encourage you all. This is such an incredible platform, and I pray to Allah that He blesses you all with more success than you can even envision happen, because it is the testimonials of the believers in their success that encourage others. So may Allah bless you all. You all are doing such a magnificent job, and I want to encourage you all to keep going and keep pushing.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you both, and thank you again for taking the time out of your schedule. And for our audience, we just have a few announcements before we close out today. If you enjoyed what you heard today, and I'm sure you have, you're invited to study with the Nation of Islam to learn the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by his chief helper, the Honorable Miss Louis Farrakhan. You can go to our website at www.noi.org/go study. We have weekly webcasts every week where you can listen to our various guest ministers. And you can also listen at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Final Call Radio, download on all your devices, take it with you on the go. Whether you're going to work, you're going to school, or you're just running some errands, or you're just having something play in the background for our children. We don't realize how important it is to have positive messages to go in the subconscious of our mind and our children. So listen to Final Call Radio and download it on all your devices. And you can also play it in the background. Speaking of Final Call, the Final Call newspaper, you can get it every week. You see the cover on the screen, the announcement, 40 years of prophecy, warning, and wisdom. And if you have not listened to the lecture that was done this Wednesday about the 40-year vision of the Honorable Miss Louis Farrakhan, you can welcome to listen to it on www.noi.org. But the Final Call newspaper, you can get it from one of our brothers on the street. Don't forget it to get a Final Call subscription. You can go online for that as well. And you can also get a subscription for our brothers and sisters that are behind the prison walls, because as we know, they can lock them up physically, but they cannot lock up their mind. And last but not least, do you want a book that greatly empowers your child and showcases their self-worth? Look no further than I Never Knew I'm All That, Book 1. This book showcases and affirms our children's needs, and it is written by our host, Brother Donald Muhammad, illustrations by Sister Amina Lay. And if you are in the Richmond area, you're welcome to hear The Reality of God every Sunday by the local representative there in Richmond, Virginia, Student Minister Tracy Muhammad. You can visit them at 801 Prince Hall Drive, Richmond, Virginia, 23224. And here in Baltimore, Maryland, if you're in the area, you can meet us at 2801 North Duplin Street. That is Connection Middle School. The old Lamel, for those who don't know where Connections is. But you're welcome to join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. And thank you for that. The announcements at this time, we're going to turn it over to Sister Lawita. We're going to do our next segment, which is called the How to Eat to Live segment, which is going to close us out for the evening, and then we will continue for prayer. Sister Lawita, I'll turn it to you.
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his messenger. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. We're excited to bring our new segment titled Eat Well, Be well. I will be reading from book 2 of How to Eat to Live, page 133. This is chapter 39, Animal Flesh. How to Eat to Live is one of the best and greatest of advice to give a person or a people. Why do we get out of the knowledge of how to eat to live? Our loss of knowledge of how to eat to live was due to the fact that we were living under the temporary rule of God's white race, whose nature was not like ours. Remember the Bible symbol like language in Genesis of the man-made serpent, devil, talking to Eve, who represents the righteous. The made man serpent condemned what God had said to Eve, and he wrongly accused the God of trying to deprive Eve of knowledge that she should have. However, Eve should have known the difference between the evil and the good, as she should have not taken the serpent, devil, for a guide. Eat one meal a day and eat the right kind of food in that meal. Animal flesh? No. But we are not committing a sin by eating animal flesh if we cannot help ourselves. But do not eat the hog by any means. Even if we are starving, we should not eat the flesh of the hog. Originally, the hog was not on our planet. The hog was made after the making of the made man, white man, and he was made for the made man. The hog was not made for the original black man. I would like to comment on the hog. When you think about our rebellion and how we're following a rebellious devil with our diet, so the system that doesn't treat us right, we can't trust that they'll teach us right when it comes down to eating properly. This is supreme wisdom right from the mouth of God through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want to show you a picture of the book, How to Eat to Live. So you can purchase it at the Final Call bookstore online at $5 a piece. How to Eat to Live. We know how to eat to die, but let's learn how to eat to live by following supreme wisdom and supreme knowledge. I thank you all so much for listening to this special segment, and it is our prayer that this effort blesses, enriches your life tremendously, and helps you thrive in wellness. Thank you all for listening. Assalamu alaikum. I turn it over to Brother Wes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Family, we thank you for tuning in to another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. With that, we're going to close on a prayer. Attention prayer. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, family.
This house is dedicated to knowledge and to the spreading of knowledge. Elijah Muhammad inspired new thought, new mind, new way of civilization among black people. But he wanted a house from which a light could be lifted up to give guidance to all who would be guided as this world begins to close down. This National Center for the re-education and retraining of the black man and woman, but for the totality of the human family on our planet. I named this mosque after the only woman that the Quran names a chapter after, the mother of Jesus, Maryam. All human beings need to be re-educated. That is the purpose of the National Center.